Dumelang, welcome to Face the Nation. My name is Clement Manyatela. Good to have you with us here on SABC News. On the show tonight, is there anything going to happen to Israel now that the United Nations has found that the country has committed genocide in Gaza? The United Nations Commission of Inquiry has released a new report which says there are reasonable grounds to conclude that 4 of the 5 genocidal acts defined under international law have been carried out since the start of the war in Hamas in 2023. This new wave of war. Israel has come out to categorically reject that report, denouncing it as distorted and false. The woman who authored that report, Dr. Navi Pillay, joins us tonight. Also on the show, can ANC councillors fix what is wrong in the municipalities and metros that they govern in time for the local government elections next year? Is it even feasible for the ANC's action plan, which was announced at the ANC councillors' roll call yesterday, to be fully implemented with results showing before the polls next year? The party has given its councillors marching orders, but is it not a little too late? The head of the presidency in the ANC, Sibongile Besani, faces the nation tonight. And then later, does the national government intervene in time in dysfunctional municipalities, or does it intervene when the damage is already too deep, like with the Ditsobotla Municipality in the northwest? The COGTA minister, Velenkosini Hlabisa, joins us. But first, my comment. So there's big debate going on today about what President Cyril Ramaphosa said yesterday at the ANC's service delivery in Bizo in Nasrec, where thousands of ANC councillors were gathered to get marching orders from the party's top leaders. The president told the gathering that improving audit outcomes and municipality finances had to be a priority for every ANC councillor. He did raise eyebrows, though, when he told the councillors to learn a thing or two from the Democratic Alliance.
Those municipalities that do best are not ANC-controlled municipalities. And I can name it here because there's nothing wrong with competition. They are often DA-controlled municipalities. We need to ask ourselves, what is it that they are doing that is better than what we are doing? And there's nothing wrong with us saying we want to go and see what Cape Town is doing. We want to go and see what Stellenbosch is doing. How do they craft everything? We need to be moving up the ladder of being good at what we do. We cannot forever stay at the bottom. It hurts me deeply when I continue to see that our municipalities sometimes tend to move even backwards.
Well, the ANC chairperson, Gwede Mantashe, also scolded some unruly councillors at the roll call.
I know that we have a lot of singing councillors, but we have no councils. We all sing well, but capacity dololo. Yabona, no mamela. Yabona moskaunga bona. No. Nanso okay. That is the council we are having. Comrades who are councillors, leaders of the ANC, who make noise when a meeting is underway. What kind of leadership is that?
Now, since President Cyril Ramaphosa made his comment that most municipalities that do best are DA-controlled, some ANC leaders and members have been upset, accusing the president of decampaigning the ANC. He's also being accused by some of endorsing the DA's good governance record. But Luthuli House now says the president's statement was taken out of context.
When you spoke about issues of audit, And then he said that we can learn a lot from Cape Town, city of Cape Town, not from the Democratic Alliance. It is run by them. And then it was blown out of proportion in our view as the ANC to suggest that the president of the ANC has got confidence in the Democratic Alliance, which is not the case. The issue here is that there are a lot of measures that are looked at when you look at the issues of local government to measure the satisfaction of the citizens, including independent satisfaction survey and so on and so on. SALGA and other credible institutions run also different other surveys to come to the conclusion whether or not you can learn from one municipality. The fact is that on all other indicators, the ANC-led government we are doing very well. But on the audit outcomes, that's where we are lacking short. So when the president was making that reference on the audit, it was then taken out of context as if he suggests that the DA is much better than the African National Congress, which is not the point.
So what exactly are these other areas that Mzandile Masina says the ANC is doing well in? Because he seems to suggest it's the audit outcomes where the improvements needs to happen. But there are two questions that remain here. The first one is, did the president lie? The answer, even from some of those criticizing him, is that what he said can be disputed. What is the top ranked metro in the country? It is Cape Town. What is the worst performing metro in the country? It's Mangaung. What are the best performing municipalities based on various reports by Good Governance Africa, which is an independent report, and even the Auditor General reports? Well, I can go on and on. The Swartland local municipality, the Drakenstein local municipality, the Saldanha Bay local municipality, they're all in Cape Town. Mossel Bay in the Western Cape, Midvaal municipality is here in Gauteng. Those are the top 5 best performing municipalities. And which are the worst performing municipalities? Which ones have consistently received the worst possible outcome from the Auditor General? You look at the Makana in the Eastern Cape, Sunday River Valley, also in the Eastern Cape, Nketwana in the Free State, Ditsobotla is in the Northwest. We'll be talking about that later with the COGTA minister. I can go on and on, Lekwa, Temani, Kanaland in the Western Cape. And of course, there are legacy issues that contributed to the status and viability of a lot of municipalities and metros. But even with that historical acknowledgement, there has been rot, there's been corruption, mismanagement of funds, and pure incompetence in some of these municipalities that have nothing to do with the legacy issues. So why are some people surprised? As if the president made it up. The second question that remains is, as truthful and transparent and honest as the president was what he said a political blunder? Was it politically smart? He has just delivered to the DA on a silver platter a campaign advert. The DA has already run with this, that an entire president of the biggest country, biggest party in the country, has endorsed the DA's good governance. So why would you then, in the next local government elections, not vote for a party that the president has endorsed and celebrated for its good governance? That's the question that the DA is going to be asking you. So the question we are asking tonight is, what do you make of what the president said? Do you think it advances or decampaigns the ANC? And why? You can send us a WhatsApp voice note right now on 078 459 1897. Remember to tell us your name and your surname and where you're sending that voice note from. And please keep it at 30 seconds. Alternatively, you can send us an X on @FaceTheNation SABC. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. An independent United Nations report has found that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. The commission had been investigating events since the Hamas attack on October 7th, 2023. It has concluded that the Israeli authorities and its security forces committed 4 of the 5 genocidal acts defined by the 1948 Genocide Convention, which is at the center of South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. The report urges Israel to immediately cease its atrocities in the Palestinian enclave. Israeli ambassador to the United Nations has rejected the Commission's findings, saying it spreads a malicious genocide narrative. Dr. Navi Pillay is the chair of the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Occupied Palestinian Territory, including East Jerusalem, and Israel, joins us now via video link. She's one of those that authored this report. Dr. Pillay, thank you so much for making time for us. Good evening.
Great pleasure. Wonderful to be here.
How did you come to this conclusion? Does the Israeli actions satisfy all these defined acts defined in the 1948 Genocide Convention?
You know, Clement, we begin where the police in our country and every country begin. You investigate, you gather the facts, and then you look for intention. Motive is irrelevant for the Genocide Convention. So you have to have the genocidal intent and the facts. We have been working for 2 years independently without consulting other people's articles or reports. And over 2 years, we gathered the evidence from firsthand, from oral evidence from witnesses, such as the doctors who volunteer, doctors who come from other countries who volunteer at these hospitals, who described the injuries to us and who told us there was no Hamas presence or tunnels under the hospital.
Yeah.
And we ourselves found no evidence of Hamas activities in these hospitals except one place. We found some evidence and we noted that. We looked at satellite pictures taken by the United Nations. We worked in cooperation with all the agencies of the UN, and we have a military expert as part of our team to, for instance, track the direction of bullets and so on. We have a small team, but each time we investigated an issue or an incident, we documented that in our reports. Now we brought forward all those facts found.
Yeah.
We put it together. And so it shows a pattern of action authorized by the state. And then we looked for genocidal intent. As everyone knows, the crime of genocide is considered the most serious crime, but it requires firstly, proof of the act, say, of killing, proof of intention to kill. Then it constitutes murder. But then proof has to be produced of the overarching genocidal intent, which is that these acts were done with the intention of destroying a group in whole or in part.
Yeah.
And that's how we match the facts to the law.
So in the Bosnia versus Serbia case, I think it was back in 2007, the ICJ had ruled that for a pattern of conduct to be accepted as evidence of the existence of genocidal intent, it would have to be such that it is or could only point to the existence of such an intent. So the intent must be the only inference here that could be reasonable from those acts in question. But Israel has said many times that it wants to destroy Hamas following, of course, the attack on October 7. Doesn't that reason then complicate things?
Israel has said so, but let me quote some of the statements Netanyahu made. This is on 7th October 23, where he said that he vowed to inflict mighty vengeance, he says, on all of the places which Hamas is deployed, hiding and operating in that wicked city. We will turn them into rubble. I say to residents of Gaza, leave now, because we will operate forcefully everywhere. So although his statement carefully is directing a call for vengeance at Hamas locations, his use of the phrase wicked city in the same statement implied that he saw the whole city of Gaza as responsible and a target of vengeance. He told Palestinians in Gaza to leave now because we will operate forcefully everywhere, making no distinction between combatants and civilians. And that was as early as 7th October. I can quote you what the defense minister said, which is even worse, labeling Palestinians as human animals and that Israel must act accordingly. The president said, President Herzog, that it's an entire nation out there that is responsible, that it is not true, this rhetoric about civilians who were not aware and not involved. So all three leaders expressing the genocidal intent of holding an entire group responsible.
And-
And as we now know from subsequent events and what's going on now, they did in fact kill a large number of Palestinians, injured out of every conflict. This is the most number of journalists who were killed, human rights defenders killed, and much worse, the number of children who were killed.
Yeah, and of course...
So we set out the statistics of those as well.
And of course, in that report, as you mentioned, the leaders, you said the responsibility of these atrocity crimes lies with the Israeli authorities at the highest echelons. And as you say, this has been sanctioned at the highest level, and you've identified those leaders that are responsible for that. But I suppose the question now is, this is, of course, probably the strongest statement yet that the United Nations, in fact, the strongest United Nations finding to date. But the question then is, what will it produce? Because Israel has ignored many United Nations resolutions. They're not going to be moved by this. In fact, the government of Israel has slammed the inquiry's findings as fake. They are saying that some of you who authored this report are serving as Hamas proxies.
So this question has been asked of us again and again. People are concerned. You've produced a report, but there won't be any action on that. So the United Nations looks at things differently. We know that one day there will be justice and accountability. And we've been mandated to find the evidence, prepare the report, share the information with courts. So we have shared the information with the ICC and one state that wants to use their national law to prosecute. That's the purpose of this report, and that's why we were so very careful. I come with the experience of a judge who served on the Rwanda tribunal and who delivered the very first judgment on genocide. So we know how to link the pattern of acts with the genocidal intent and the crimes such as killing, causing bodily harm, mental harm, destruction of cultural, religious and educational structures, the siege, starvation, the blocking of humanitarian aid, destruction of the healthcare system, sexual and gender violence, and of course the direct targeting of children. We followed these and match the evidence to that.
This report...
So, of course, as we South Africans know and understand, you have to keep trying. This is what President Mandela taught us. It may look impossible that Palestinians will receive justice, but our job is to prepare these. And we are fortunate. The case is already before the ICC. The case is also before the ICJ, thanks to South Africa's application. We are recommending to the prosecutor of the ICC that he should now investigate genocide, the crime of genocide against these three individuals.
The report also called for the commission to be given access to Israel and occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, to continue this investigation. Do you think that you'll get that access?
Clement, it's the order of the International Court of Justice after South Africa's second or third application. That court, in their order to Israel, said allow the UN investigation team to come in. They've ignored that, as they've ignored the requests from foreign journalists and TV stations to report on the fact. And, many people pointed out to me, well, you'll only say that, you'll stop people from coming to see what you're doing if you have something to hide. And so I think it's remarkable that my team was able to gather all this evidence without having the benefit of talking to victims inside Israel. We were approached by many people from inside Israel, and that's why we have the direct evidence.
Dr. Navi Pillay, thank you so much for making time for us. Let's hope that something will come of this report, because there are many such reports and resolutions from the United Nations that have come and nothing really happens to Israel. But this is probably the one that is so damning. Thank you for making time for us. Let's remind you of the question we've been asking you tonight. President Cyril Ramaphosa and the comments that he made at the ANC roll call yesterday. What do you make of those statements? And do you think that those statements advance or hurt the ANC's image? You can send us a WhatsApp voice note or send us a tweet. After the break, we speak to the head of the presidency in the ANC. Stay with us. Welcome back. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa's concession that South Africa's best-run municipalities are those governed by the DA has caused a stir among ANC members. Ramaphosa urged ANC councillors to emulate DA-run municipalities. He was addressing party councillors from across the country at FNB Stadium yesterday. He was saying there's nothing wrong with competition. If there's anything to learn, of course, that is an opportunity. Sibongile Besani is the ANC head of the presidency and joins us now in studio. Sibongile, thank you for making time for us. Good evening.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
So the president, the statement that he made yesterday, he didn't lie, did he?
No, he didn't lie in a sense that in South Africa, the facts are such that there are some municipalities that are DA-run that are getting better audit reports than those that we run. So when the president of the ANC is confronted with those facts, he can't just deny them. But what is important is to understand the ANC itself. The ANC is a learning organization. Even in the height of apartheid, President Oliver Tambo made a call to all ANC members that there is something that you can learn from your worst enemy like the Nationalist Party. That did not absolve the Nationalist Party from apartheid as a crime against humanity. And even now, when the president says, look, we have an opponent called the DA, but there's something good that he is doing in terms of the governance, especially with respect to Auditor General's report and so on. He does not absolve the DA from its incompetencies that we all know. But what is important is to be inspired by the fact that there's something good, we can learn something from them. Now, if you were to apply cheap politicking, I just want to get into, if you were to apply cheap politicking, you would say the DA is perfect. But
no party is perfect.
No party is perfect. In fact, you will then have to look at the record of DA for 8 years in Tshwane, you know. So it does not mean that in as much as DA has got all these failures, incompetencies, there's nothing we can learn from them.
So why do you then have people like Mzandile Masina coming out and saying, oh, the president's comments are taken out of context? In fact, earlier on, he told me, in fact, what the president was trying to say is that the DA can learn a lot from the ANC.
Listen, the DA can learn a lot also from it. In fact, it has learned a lot. We've created institutions like SALGA as the ANC.
But that's not what the president said yesterday.
Now listen, we have created institutions and policy framework and platforms that we have created. Parties like the DA, those who are in government, they are also benefiting from that. Those are the lessons.
That's true. But is that what the president said yesterday?
No. Don't be literal. What is important is that the president says there are areas where the DA is good.
Yes.
And we can learn from that.
Yeah. So I suppose
he does not absolve the DA from its incompetencies.
Absolutely. And I'm not even questioning that. As I said, there's no party that's perfect. There are many things that the DA does wrong in some of their metros. I'm just saying, as the ANC, you're confusing the public.
No,
when the president says one thing, then another NEC member of the ANC comes on a platform and says, no, the president didn't say that. You guys are blowing it out of proportion. Even when you've just played the clip of the president saying exactly that, and then you come later on, you say, but the president did say that where there are lessons, those lessons can be learned.
Now remember what has happened today. There has been a cheap politicking to try to project that the DA is good in every respect.
Who said that?
No, go to social media. That is why you have called me today.
But I didn't call you because of social media.
No, but we do come. Yes, social media is media.
Yeah, but I don't go to social media and say someone who says the DA is perfect and I call you to respond to that.
Listen, Clement. There was a flood of commentary, okay? There's a flood of commentary that seeks to suggest that the ANC says the DA is better than it. No, it's not true. The point here is, so when the likes of Comrade Mzandile Masina comment, they comment on the basis of what is being punted in the public discourse.
No, well, that wasn't really what he was commenting to. But anyway, I'll move from there because she was asked a direct question. What did the president say? He said those statements are taken out of context. You just said now the president wasn't taken out of context. What he was trying to say is there are certain things you can even learn from the
But I
opposition.
provided the context still.
He was given the opportunity to provide that context. He didn't. Let's move from that, because that's not really at the heart. I just want the listeners to understand, because there was an NEC member on this platform on the SABC who says something completely different to what you come and say here.
No, you are actually twisting it. If, for instance, I give you the context that the ANC says, President, for instance, did praise the DA on its governance, especially with regards to the reports of the Auditor General. Then another member of the ANC says, but that then there's a bigger context than just that.
Except that's not what he said. But let me move on. There are some people in the ANC that are saying, well, this is a political blunder, because if you make a statement like that just ahead of the elections, you are suggesting to South Africans that, in fact, the DA will then ask South Africans, the president of the biggest party in the country has just praised and endorsed our good governance. Why wouldn't you want to vote for us? Do you agree that it is a political blunder? The timing was wrong?
No, it's not a political blunder. What is a blunder when you learn from other people? I think it would be unfortunate for any member of the ANC, and that's the call we're making, not people not to fall to this notion that it's a blunder. When the ANC itself, by its nature, it's a learning organization. If Oliver Tambo could say to the ANC in the height of apartheid, you can learn from your enemy. Does it mean that he was giving the apartheid, the Nationalist Party, a carte blanche to do what it? No. He was not condoning the Nationalist Party. But he was saying there's something that is right that we can learn from them. We don't have to do their weaknesses, but we can learn from them. And even now, today, where we have these many challenges, the president of the ANC, inspired by one of the stalwarts of our movement, says there is something to learn. So that cannot be something wrong. Learning is a process. Any organization that wants to renew, as the ANC, it has to learn. And where does it have to learn? You don't only learn from yourselves, you also learn from those that oppose you. That means you understand your opposition, you know their strengths, their weaknesses.
So the part of the learning is, as the ANC, is to make sure that you field candidates or councillors that have capacity, right? Isn't the problem here part of the reason why that the local government and these municipalities are dysfunctional? Because some of the people you field as political parties, whether it's the IFP, the DA, or you as the ANC, sometimes are people who don't have capacity, which is why COGTA, when we interview them, tell us that we have to take all these councillors through a refresher course, because some of them just don't have capacity. They don't understand the work.
In any situation, when a person gets appointed, he gets inducted. That's a refresher. It's not only on the basis of like capacity. Nobody gets into a new job and then he knows everything. Now, institutions like SALGA, even COGTA, and so they have a responsibility to say, this is the policy framework. They have to take, whether they are PhDs or not, they always have the responsibility of taking those councillors when they are new through some refresher course and so on. So capacity alone is not the issue. The issue is that everybody has got to go through some training, and so nobody outgrows training.
Well, the ministers of COGTA often complain about what councillors can't even do. SALGA once released a report that found 62% of councillors had been unable to use basic computers to enable the passing of crucial municipal budgets. The Presidency was indicated that a while back, only 53% of senior municipal managers meet the minimum competency levels.
No.
So you can't take away the responsibility that you have as political parties to put a claimant who actually has matric or has a basic understanding of how council works. You can't say, pick up anybody who just wants to get into politics because government has a responsibility to train them.
No, that's what we are not saying. We're not saying councillors, they know, they have computer skills, they have everything. No, we're not saying that. We are saying, because I was responding to your question on the refresher course, I said those refresher courses basically in any environment are mandatory. It's not only a lack of capacity that informs or that inspires training.
So how do we deal with the lack of capacity that inspires
you do train. I'm saying it's not only. You do train. I was responding to your question that they get refresher courses are not just only inspired by lack of capacity. That's why I said, you get appointed in a new job, you get inducted. That is refresher. But where there is lack of capacity, any institution, like in the local government ecosystem, training will always take place. Now, let's deal with what you just asked now, the issue of how councillors are being elected. Remember, from the ANC, we're the only party that says, if you are to become a councillor or a mayor, we take you through a process. And part of those processes that we do involves the communities themselves. Many of the councillors that are there elected or through the ANC process, they have gone through a process of being elected by communities.
And is that all you need? I mean, if you can be elected by
I'm
communities...
not saying is that there are processes. It's not only that you need to be elected by communities.
What else do you look for?
But the democratization process, no, we have a whole guidelines on the requirements for being a public representative.
So here's the challenge, because the Auditor General releases reports every single year that you've looked at. Auditor General comes to us or to the public and says, there is a problem here, even of lack of capacity, when you look at the governance of the municipalities, which is why there are even more consultants that are being used. Where does that the Auditor General talks about the lack of capacity almost every single year. So where does that come from if really, as the ANC, you're also putting up people in council who end up leading these municipalities who are clearly well capable of their job?
Let me tell you something, Clement. Mistakes or malfeasance that takes place in municipalities, they don't happen only because of lack of capacity.
Absolutely.
There are people who have capacity but who misbehave. You understand? So when you deal with lack of capacity only as the issue, I think that would be misconstrued. There are things, that is why, as the ANC, even yesterday, President spoke a lot even against corruption. Some of the people who actually are involved in acts of malfeasance and so on are people who have capacity. So the issue, while we agree with Auditor General, the issue is you are not only looking at lack of capacity, you are looking at a plethora of things that can make local government work. And one of those things that can make local government work is to fight corruption. Yes.
Yeah. There was a time, was it in the Free State, there were ANC councillors that were fired in the Free State for voting out an allegedly corrupt mayor. I think it was Vusi Chabalala, if I'm not mistaken. Was that in the Free State?
Yeah, Vusi Chabalala was a mayor in Qwaqwa.
In Qwaqwa.
Yeah,
wasn't the mayor accused of
Maluta
corruption,
Pufu.
but people who voted him out were fired?
Yeah, you talk about the issue of map 16 or something like that.
Yeah, they went and formed map
Yeah.
16. So I suppose I'm responding to you when you say there's also an importance to deal with corruption. But when
Yes.
you've got councillors who try to speak out against corruption, they get fired.
Now let's give another context there, and that is not in defense of wrongdoing. If you remember, part of the program that we're engaged in, that is why we had a roll call. It is part of our renewal program, because we have made a diagnostic report, if you remember, around 2016 or 17, which was publicized, where we also looked into our own internal challenges and so on. If you look at some of the challenges that took place in Maluta Pufu, then with specific reference to this one, they had to do more with internal organizational processes, and where you find people who even defend people who are accused of wrongdoing.
But these ones tried to get rid of the person who was
Yes.
accused of corruption.
It was a function. It was not
a
a function of lack of capacity. It was a function of internal organizational
Why did
process.
the ANC fire people who are trying to get someone gone because the person is accused of corruption?
That's why, that's why I'm saying it was a function of internal challenges.
Was
That is
that a
why.
right decision, though, to fire people who were standing ground against corruption?
No, people were not fired because they were standing ground against corruption.
They
only.
voted a mayor
No,
who was
listen,
accused of
no.
corruption.
A mayor was accused of all kinds of things. And remember what didn't happen. Vusi Chabalala, even today, has never stood before the courts of law. You know, all that the ANC wanted at that time, was to say, look, if you are accusing somebody of malfeasance and so on, you know, bring that evidence instead of acting and so on. And what had happened is that people, members of the ANC at that time, instead of bringing that evidence, they had not done so. So the ANC decried their conduct in that regard, not because it was defending corruption.
All right, Sibongile Besani, thank you so much for speaking to us.
No, thank you.
After the break, we're going to continue this conversation around local government. In fact, we're going to go straight to the comments that you've sent responding to the question we've been asking you tonight around what you make of what the president has had to say. And then we'll get into a conversation with the Minister of COGTA, Velenkosini Hlabisa. Here's what some of you have had to say. On Twitter, Bono says, it's called honesty. We always demand fair leadership. But when we experience it, we put politics even where it doesn't belong. Dumo says there was nothing wrong with the president's comments. The ANC must do better at local government and stop making excuses for poor service delivery. We also have some of your WhatsApp voice notes that have come through responding to this very question around what the president said at the roll call yesterday. So let's take a listen to some of the voice notes that have come through.
Clement man. Aye, President is campaigning his party. So you can see that it's endorsing the.
All right, apologies there for some technical issues with the voice note line. We'll come back to those in a moment. Let's bring in now the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosini Hlabisa, who's announced that the team will take over the running of the troubled Lichtenburg-based Ditsobotla local municipality in the northwest. Minister Hlabisa, thank you for making time for us. Good evening.
Good evening, Clement, and the viewers of SABC program this evening.
Yeah, okay, let's look at this decision to again look at what's been concerning around the Ditsobotla municipality. Why has the decision been made to intervene at this level?
Clement, Ditsobotla has been in the public domain in most cases for bad reasons for quite a long time. You will remember after the elections in 2021, the municipality was dissolved because it was not shaping. And thereafter, interventions in terms of support from 2022 has been given to the municipality. It has all proven not working. Now, a local government is a separate sphere of government. The national government cannot just simply intervene willy-nilly. Mm-hmm. The law allows the provincial government as the second layer to intervene, and once it reaches a point where it says we've done it all, it then escalates the matter to the national government. That is what they did, and therefore we took over and presented the item to the cabinet, and it's a different intervention because it's not one person.
Yeah.
It's a team that has been deployed there, and we gave them an ultimatum that they cooperate. If they don't, we escalate the intervention.
Yeah. What exactly is wrong with this municipality? I mean, it's, as you say, they've been in the news for the wrong reasons. It's actually classified as one of the worst in the country. It's so bad with providing services that even businesses in the area have been forced to close shop because it was just unsustainable to continue doing business there. Do you still think that if such interventions do fail, the best option then is to put up councils for re-election?
Let me start with what is wrong. Almost everything was wrong in that municipality. Councillors were deliberately running away from taking a right decision. In most cases, they will take a wrong decision, knowing which is the right decision to take. The use of money was very bad. The appointment of people without qualifications, the appointment of service provider without following the proper procedure. So now, this intervention, we took all executive powers from the council, from the mayor. The cabinet representative is a working council in terms of executive powers, together with the team, financial people, engineering people, technical, as well as corporate services people. And also, we set up a team by law enforcement agencies. All the cases that has been open with no one being arrested, they will be followed up by this team. People will be arrested, and everything that has not been done correctly will have to see the might of justice. This time around, what was interesting when I went there, the councillors were very cooperative. All 8 political parties, they welcomed the intervention and pledged their cooperation. Today, a complete team was introduced, and the people who are occupying positions illegally or unconstitutionally, the mayor and the speaker, have agreed to resign. A new council meeting will be held on the 23rd to elect a mayor correctly and the speaker, and they will follow the proper processes, and we will rebuild Ditsobotla, because we gave them a clear instruction that if you don't cooperate, we have no other choice except to dissolve you. We do not want to go there because it's going to be a waste of time to people of Ditsobotla. But if they cooperate, the team that is there, we will even redirect financial resources to Ditsobotla, because the situation is not good. The buildings, not good. The municipal buildings, then there is no water in the municipal buildings. The tiles are broken. The impression is just not good. If you find the situation in the municipal building not good, then you start to imagine how situation is outside.
So I'm glad that there are also those developments around the mayor and the speaker having agreed to resign as you intervene from national government. Didn't the provincial government of the Northwest try to intervene in the Ditsobotla municipality? What happened to that intervention?
They tried, but in terms of the province, they have a power that they can send one person as an administrator, and they did try that level. It didn't work. That is why, in terms of the law, when they have tried to their level, they escalate. And I'm sure the councillors realize that we are reaching the end with them. That is why they are cooperating, which is the right thing, of course, in the interest of people, because people have been disadvantaged for too long in that municipality.
Part of the reason, that the businesses have left there is because of this issue of dysfunction. And there are many concerns that have been raised around the public officials that sometimes don't have the skills and the capacity for the positions that they occupy. We've spoken before with you about what Salga had found before in terms of some of the councillors that are in councils, the competency levels of those councillors. As COGTA minister, how do you think this issue can be resolved? That there can be some kind of a process or legislation that ensures that political parties actually field candidates and councillors that are capable and that are competent?
The review of the white paper on local government that we are going to conclude in March next year is going to make a recommendation. There is an area where we can't interfere, the election of a ward councillor, because a ward councillor is elected by the community. So you can't prescribe who to elect. But for the mayor, the executive committee, and the speaker, we are going to make a recommendation that there must be competencies these people must have, because they must read the annual financial statements, they must comprehend the finances of the municipality, they must be able to engage the audit report from the Auditor General and introduce corrective measures. We are going to make a recommendation in relation to the leaders of the council. Well, as I've said, ward councillors, are a prerogative of the community. You can't legislate in that space.
Yeah. Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosini Hlabisa, thank you for joining us this evening. Let's go to that question we've been asking you and try those voice notes again. We've been asking you what you make of that statement the president made yesterday and whether you think it hurts or if it advances the ANC. Here's what some of you have had to say.
Clement Dume, the president is decampaigning his party. So you can see that he's endorsing the DA. So it's very clear. It goes without saying. Thank you.
Ben from Gauteng, President Cyril Ramaphosa is 100% correct. He is the president of the Republic of South Africa. He is talking on behalf of all of us. There are multiple parties. Those who do wrong, they must fix. Those who do right, look up to them. There is nothing wrong at all. Let us not politicize it.
Good evening. My name is Kagiso Moses Moka in Mahikeng. Well, my honest opinion is that the president is not wrong in what he said about the DA and the clean governance. I think the ANC has a duty to learn from what the DA is doing. They must not blame the president for what he has said. I mean, the truth is truth. No matter what we think, it remains the truth. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all of your voice notes. Thanks for your tweets earlier on as well. And thanks for watching the Tuesday edition of Face the Nation. We'll be back on Thursday at 8 p.m. Have a good evening. Cheers.